Assalamu alaikum. The part of the story of the Prophet that actually stands out to me the most is the aspect of his life that actually dealt with children. Children sometimes, as we know inside the masjid, can be the hardest people to deal with because they make a lot of noise, a lot of racket, especially during the time of our worship. But the stories of the Prophet that I remember that specifically are the hadith in which he actually let children play around him. And there was one particular story where a child came up to him while he was making sujood. He was in the act of sujood, which is the closest form of worship we can get during prayer. Is actually when our head is touching the floor. And this child climbed on top of the back of the Prophet, and he actually prolonged his sujood just so the child could play a little bit longer. This is how courteous our Prophet was to children. And there was another hadith actually where the Prophet was leading a prayer, and the Prophet tried to elongate prayer and keep it as meaningful as possible, so people could actually get into the sincerity of the prayer and the khushu'. Actually, he heard a child crying, and he stopped the prayer short because he didn't want the mother to get worried or panic about what's wrong with the child. So these are just ways that the Prophet actually made sure that to tie the dunya in with the deen. And that's something that we actually all have to bring in the balance in Islam too. Sometimes we get so caught up with the deen, sometimes we forget that there are actually aspects of the dunya that we actually need to remember as well. And the Prophet is actually an example of the perfect balance in Islam that we should strive ourselves to be. If I had a chance to meet the Prophet, I would ask him what is the perfect way to live, because in the world today we have so many different aspects of Islam. Some people practicing this way and some people practicing that way. And honestly, the only question I would ask him is how to be nicer to everybody. Like the Prophet was the best example of akhlaq. He was the one that portrayed the best manners possible. He was nice to everybody on his deathbed. The way he died, nobody had a problem with him when he died. Absolutely no problems with him. No animosity. No enemies whatsoever. He was absolutely peaceful with everybody, at peace with everybody when he died, and nobody had a complaint about him. And that's actually something that we have a tough time sometimes dealing with. If we have a small problem and we can't even remember what our problem was with that person. We haven't spoken to them for years, but we still have a problem with them, and we can't forgive them. But the Prophet forgave every single person, and nobody had a problem with him. That just shows how pure his soul actually was and how good his akhlaq was. Children, actually, I'm in the education department at the University of Memphis, so I'm actually taught to deal with younger kids. So I know the number one way actually they teach in universities nowadays is actually relate to the kids and actually bring yourself down to their level, because sometimes as adults we forget to actually treat the kids like they're actually human beings also. We just order them around and tell them what to do and what not to do. But the reason why the children around the Prophet's time loved him so much is because they could actually relate to him even though he was much older than them. But that just shows you how pure his heart really was. He actually wanted to come down to their level and communicate with them as a child as well, because that's the only way that he knows he's going to get a true love and affection from them as well.